think there's been a hell of a lot of progress, to be honest, especially Publicis with Epsilon data integrated. So we've already created products like PMX Lift that enable us to find those audiences in true addressable ways across all screens. And that enables us to do a lot with not only understanding the consumer and the data, but also the moment of receptivity and the mindset they're in. I think it's really important to also think about the context of the content in which we're operating. If you think about just using data to find an audience, you have to think about how then that plays out in terms of relevance. And if you get relevance and the moment of receptivity right, and you get the message right, as well as being precisely targeted, that is gold dust, and that's what gets us to a place where you get that holy grail, where you get an engagement and an interaction, and obviously, convert that purchase. You have much more likelihood of a conversion when you have all of that working together.
So this is a big question, but how does contextual advertising work, or how do you make sure that things are relevant, and what kind of tools can you use?
So when you think about proper context, it's about understanding not only who your audience is, but the mindset they're in. So, for example, if you're advertising a toy, there are two ways to advertise that toy. There's a co-viewing opportunity with children, understanding it's relevant in the context of those audiences within COPPA compliance. And then there's also the opportunity to target the adult that's actually going to be purchasing that toy. And by using addressability and the data that we have at our disposal, like Epsilon data, that enables us to understand from a household and a person perspective how we can sequence the right messages to create the desire and demand, and then convert that demand into a purchase.
Lisa, you're dealing with a lot of big brands, and all brands are different, and the investment is different, but how are you seeing some trends in investment in terms of the media, cross-media investment, the kinds of media that are emerging, where's that spend kind of going?
It's going to where the consumer is, and I say that very deliberately because for a long time we've not thought about it as being linear versus streaming versus any other platform. We look at video and consumer touch points and video as a whole. And so what that enables us to do is to think about how we go across doing a deal with this streaming platform, but also their linear property, but also their existing other properties outside in the real world, to ensure that we make the most of every touch point. I do think there's going to be an incredible surge of inventory, AVOD inventory coming into the market. We know that Amazon is launching Prime Ads on January 29th. Netflix is unleashing more space as well. So that's going to give us an opportunity, hopefully, to have an even more deflationary market, right? Where we've got more inventory and a more precise way of targeting so that we can get those effective CPMs to really make CTV and addressability sing.